Welcome back to another tutorial video on Escape Simulator Room Editor. This video is going to be about the three logic items: visibility, activator, display, and lights. I know the light is very easy to understand, but I'm going to have that last anyways because that can kind of be used with the visibility activator. Now I'm going to start in a row, and there's also going to be chapters in case you want to know one specific. You can just go straight to that. But I'm going to start with the visibility activator right here. So I'm going to cut this and get into a spot much more easier to show. Okay, so I'm here. I just put up a little setup here to demonstrate what a visibility activator does. Now what it does is it changes the visibility of something. Like, let's say if we had this activator tied to this cube and we activate the activator, it would make the cube invisible and you can no longer collide with it. Now, at first when I saw this, I don't know about you, but when I saw it, I thought visibility activator must means that once you look at it, it activates. That's what I thought, but I was wrong. In order to actually activate this, you need to have something tied to it beforehand, such as a lock or a trigger or an empty logic that is automatically activated. But we need something tied to this visibility activator. So this lock is just set as 111, 3-digit lock, easy. But once you put in 111, on unlock, it's going to activate the visibility activator. So we put in 111, it activates this. And once this is activated, we want it to make this invisible. So we're gonna target object, cube. What that does is when this activator is activated, it changes the visibility and collider of this object. Meaning, once you put in this lock, cube goes invisible and you can no longer collide with it. But let's say you want this to already be invisible, but this lock to make it visible. Well, all you need to do then is you have to have two visibility activators then, at least from what I know, and you have to have this activate on start. What this does is, what the description says, it activates as soon as the player starts the room. So we hit activate on start and target objects cube. So once you start the room, this activates, making this cube invisible. It is gone. Now I'm going to go through every single check mark here, but because in order to make the cube visible, we need to change some properties, because right now it'll still make this disabled. It'll still make the cube invisible, which means it does nothing since it's already invisible. Now this activator makes this invisible. We want this to make it visible. Now on the activation type, this is all the things that it can do. Disable means it makes whatever it is invisible and it removes its collider. Enable means that it makes whatever object it's tied to visible and you can collide with it. Toggle means it changes whatever it was before. Like, let's say this cube is invisible. If you have it set to toggle, then the activator will make it visible. If it's visible beforehand, then the toggle activator will make it invisible. It just changes it from one to another. But we want this activator to make this visible, so we will hit enable. So now when we play, it's currently invisible, cannot interact with it. But if we put 111, the cube comes back and we can, oh yeah, I don't have this set as an obstacle, but you know, you can't interact with it when it's invisible, but now you can. Now let's say you want this to still be interact with when it's invisible. Well, then you want to uncheck targeting object, because what this does is when you have that checked, everything that the activator is targeting will automatically change both its visibility and its colliding. So right now that changes nothing because we have targeting object unchecked. Targeting renderer makes this visible or invisible. Targeting collider makes this interactable or uninteractable. If we hit targeting renderer, then it just makes it invisible and we can still interact with it. Now you can't grab it, but you can still touch it. But if we uncheck targeting renderer and just check targeting collider, then the object has no collider. And so when I say it has no collider, I mean that it can't collide with anything. It can't collide with even the world around you. So it'll just fall through anything. And obviously we probably don't want that to happen. But that is the basics of the visibility activator. Very useful if you don't want to have like 20 things outside the map so people don't see them. Very, very useful. So this is quick gist of things. This is set to disable, meaning it makes this invisible, and it disables the collider. But if you unlock this lock, it activates this activator, enabling both its renderer and collider, making it visible and colliding. And you always need a lock or a trigger tied to it before it activates, unless you have Activator at start selected. Okay, so now that we got the visibility activator out of the way and all done, next in the list is the display. So the display displays a password. Now obviously, in order for it to display something, we need to tie it into a lock. So we go to target lock. What this does is displays the numbers currently inputted into a lock. So we go into target lock and hit any lock logic item, and we hit confirm. Now this display will show every single number currently inputted in this lock. Now if you hit play, we see 0, 0, and it should be 2 more zeros, such as the lock currently has inputted. But because of current settings, it's going down into the ground. We don't want that to happen. So we have 4 numbers that are possible to put into this lock. We go to display. In columns, we want 4 because there's 4 letters, 4 numbers. Now we have 4 columns for each number. But now it's really distorted. We want to fix that. So we're just gonna scale it down. Like so. Now if we hit play, we can see 0, 0, 0, 0, because nothing is currently inputted into the lock that we have the display tied to. But if we were to type in 163, we now see 163 in the display because we currently have 163 inputted into the lock. So there is the simple the explanation of the display. But I will go into the other settings that I know. So rows, let's say you want 2 rows. Now we have 2 rows. Now you can't see anything there, but if we were to change the columns to 2 numbers would be at the top, 2 numbers would be at the bottom, because we have 2 columns and 2 rows. But looks really weird that way. Padding. What this does is changes how much is, it distorts it. It changes how much padding is in between the numbers. And it's also backwards too, so. I think it's supposed to be like negative in this area. Man. Yeah, I don't mess with this stuff. I don't touch the padding personally. And I also don't really touch sprite sheet columns or sprite sheet rows. I only really mess with the rows and columns because that's all I really need for a display. But that is the basics of a display. You need to have a display tied to a lock, and then if you want it to look nice, have the amount of columns set to the amount of numbers possible to put into the lock. And then whatever number you have inputted in the lock will show on the display. And that's a cool little trick if you want to make like a computer password puzzle. So that's a display for you. Now that we have both the visibility activator and the display all shown and out of the way, we now have the simplest one on this video, the light logic item. Now this is the simplest because there's not too many settings and it's a light. How can a light be too difficult? Now I'm going to show every single setting. Now when you spawn the light in, it'll be like this. Obviously it's a light. A light does what a light does. But let's say you want to change it. Now the type of light is spot, directional, or point. Now a spotlight is what you see. It shoots light in one single direction. Now you can change the range of it from 10 to 20. That's not really a big change. And you'll be able to see the light from farther away. 30 can really see, make you see that. Geez, how close do I have to this wall? Yeah, see, the range dictates how far away you can easily see the light. Spot angle dictates how wide this circle of light is. So if you change it to 60, it's a bigger radius. And then we have color. Like let's say you want to mess around, change it to purple. I have to, and now it's a purple light. You know, obviously you can change whatever color you want, but I'm gonna stick with purple. And then you have the intensity of the light. Intensity is currently set at 1. You could set it to 5 for an extremely bright light, or 0.5 for a very, very dull light. We're going to keep it at 1 though. Now let's say, now obviously we have the different types. If we hit directional, everything facing the direction of the light gets changed. Like the light is facing this way, so this whole wall is being changed to purple. And let's say you have it facing kind of like a mix, you know, change the intensity to 5. Wow, that's really big. Change it to 5. Since the light is facing kind of both these walls, and I have it kind of tilted up, you can see that it changes the color of both walls and the ceiling. But as you change the direction, less of the one wall gets lit up and more of the other wall gets lit up. So everything facing the direction of the light gets changed. Even if the light isn't really pointing at it, it'll still get changed. Like, see this drawer? It's facing this way, which the light is facing this way, so it gets changed. So good to keep that in mind. And then you have color and intensity like before. But let's say you want it to be point. What point is wherever the light is, like the logic item, that's where you're going to see actual light. So the light appears to be somewhere around right here. And so the light is emanating from this area. Now let's turn the intensity down. Now it won't, now if you have it as point, it won't just light up one single area, it'll light up the entire radius around the light logic item. So that is the basics of the light, very simple. But I saved this for last because you could have a visibility activator on the light, making it invisible. That way, let's say you solve a puzzle with electrical stuff. you can then turn the light on, showing even more of a puzzle. That way you don't need to have the light as in animation. Might save you some time, might not. Depends on how you like to make stuff. But that is the basics of all three of visibility activator, display, and light. I do hope this tutorial helped you, and I do plan on making more tutorials, though don't ask me when. I have quite a schedule ahead of me. But I do hope you have a fantastic day, and have a good night.